Hi there, it's Peter Temple for Sunday actually, April the 17th, and this is the market report for Monday, April the 18th. So here we are, just waiting. My last post was looking for the top tick. We have a little bit further to go. We're in obviously this second wave, and I'm going to start with the New York Stock Exchange, which is the largest capital stock market in the world. And I always go here just to get a good feeling for where we're going because there doesn't seem to be as many animal spirits here, so things aren't as wacky as some of the other U.S. indices. And this one, I still maintain this was the first wave down here when we came down from the top on May 21st last year. And then what we have working in all the indices is a great big, what we call in Elliott wave, a flat, which is a 335 configuration. So we got an ABC going up here from the bottom of the first. And that is actually, I would label that right now, if I didn't know any better, the second wave. Then we have three down, and we had what looked in here as it could be a truncation, except on the NYSE, this first wave down actually looks like it could be motive. So that's kind of up in the air right now, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. But we've got this ABC down in 3, which means it's got to retrace. And then we've got this 5 waves up, but it's actually an ABC because we did not come down to a new low here in the NYSE. So this ends up being an ABC actually up here, but this wave is in 5 waves. Except that this first wave was actually in 3 because it came straight up and then we had an ABC here. So we have this sort of flat happening, and it looks like, to me, it's either going to finish at this B level here or it's going to go up to the top, one of the two. And either one, if would work, this would actually be a huge second wave, which means the third wave down will be 1.6 times the length of this first wave. And you could also back this out and look at it and say this is a really good looking head and shoulders if you like that particular pattern. That isn't something that really works for Elliott wave, but it's a very valid pattern out there, and it's just that Elliott wave can give you much more precise bottoms if you're looking for a target. And so I'm looking at this from the Elliott wave's perspective, and we've got a second wave racking up here. I think it's either going to be to here, and we'll have a lower end second. This will be a 2, and this will be a smaller 2 here, or we'll go right up to the top. So my next cycle date is around the end of the month. I think we're looking at that before we see a turnover. We just have a bit more time to go, and I know it's a tedious wait, but the reward is going to be pretty spectacular. This is a once in a lifetime turnover. This wave is huge as a second, big third wave to come. Jumping over to the S&P 500, we've got the same configuration. I've got this as wave 1 down here, and then we've got this ABC, ABC down, and then we have actually got this did come down to a new low here, so we're actually looking at 5 waves up here, which then would make this a pure flat. Except that this first wave up was in 3, so it's not actually a motive wave. So we wouldn't expect this to come down in a second wave and go back up again. This is an ending wave in a flat, and it looks like we're going up to the previous high here, which this not right now would be labeled a second, but I'm pretty well making this over here the second, and it's going to correct out this possible truncation, which I'd had in here because this was obviously an ABC down, and I thought the only way that this could be motive would be for this to be a truncation, and a truncation is extremely rare. So it's nice to actually see this get wiped out. So that's why I'm saying this will go up, touch this point, and turn over. It should be an easy spot for us to look for a turnover in this market. Let's jump in. I'll jump in a little bit tighter on this so we can look at the waves here, because we're obviously in a fourth, fifth wave here, and we've had a first wave up, a second wave down. This may be hard to see. And we finished the third wave, and we're in this little fourth right now, heading up into a fifth. So this may take us 10 days to get up there, and that may coincide well with the end of the month turnover cycle change. Here's the 10-minute chart of the S&P 500. So we've really zoomed in here, and this is the kind of a dilemma in terms of what this pattern actually is. I've got a couple of lines here that show a possible triangle formation, but it doesn't have 3 waves down here. This wave didn't come down low enough, and it should have 3 waves for a traditional triangle. All of these waves are in threes. It could be argued, argued that this first one up here of this next leg up is a 1, but then we had a 3 and we had what looked like a 3 here. Again, it could be argued that that would be a 1, but this whole configuration here is in 3 waves. And then we've got this second wave down, I'm calling the second wave, and we've got a big third wave up, that's obvious, and a fourth wave. So this could be an ending wave out of a triangle, or it could be some sort of strange ending diagonal, but I would have thought that this fourth wave would come down and overlap here if it was an ending diagonal. So it's a little bit up in the air. We're still going up. That part is obvious. And it's just a case of how far up this actually goes. I think it's going up to hit that previous second wave, and then we're going to turn over. That's going to take us, I would think, at least a week to 10 days sort of thing to get up there, because I think we'll probably slow down as we go up through this pattern here. And that's where we are in the S&P, and we'll move on to just a couple of other things before I wrap up. Here's the 4-hour chart of the Dow. This is the big picture on the Dow, and you can see that we had the top of the market here on the same May 20th, around that point, and then we had what I called 5 waves down. And then we have got the same flat configuration here as in all the other indices, of course, and this one's coming up in a 5. This one did not, again, come to a new low here, so we've got an A, B, C up to the top here, and this looks like a second wave. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Dow go up to this previous point here of just above 18,000 and then turn over, and this would make this the second wave. I think it's going to pass this A level right here, and so we have all of the indices looking pretty well the same. I don't think anything is going to get to a new high. We're going to turn over before that happens. So now let's look at the dollar. This is the daily chart of the dollar, because the dollar is really the thing that is controlling this entire market. And we have a phenomenon called all the same market, which really comes from Bob Prechter, and I've been mentioning this for about 8 months, that he imagined that all the markets would move in tandem, which is in fact was what they've been doing for the last 8 months, because we've got currencies actually moving in the same direction as equities and moving together. So you can see this, it makes it a little bit easier to trade. This particular chart is a really interesting one for me, because we're looking at, and this is the 3-day chart actually I've got right now, so you can see the entire wave of the dollar, which is heading up. And this wave, although I've got it marked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this area in here does not look motive to me. And so I also have got an ABC here. There's no question, and this big wave is a fourth, which is really questionable in terms of what it's doing. I mean, longer term, I know what it's doing now. It's actually correcting, and it's got a little more correction to go, and it's probably going to go to this previous point here. So we're going to go down, and then we're going to head up to complete either this fifth wave or the C wave. Going to be the same point at about 105. So short term, we're going down a little further, and the euro will go up, and then we will head down. Where it's going to go after that, it's going to come back here, but whether it's going to be a C wave or go right back to the top, I'm not quite sure. So the dollar is going to be an interesting chart to watch. Jumping over to the daily chart of the euro, we've got the opposite of the dollar here. And what we've got is a 3-wave down here, third wave, and then we've got a fourth wave here, very similar to the dollar, and we've got all of these corrective waves in threes all over the place. The euro is still heading up here in a corrective wave, and it doesn't have that much further to go. The question is where it's going to stop. So I've got a 2 here. This could be the start of a first wave down and then a second here. I think it's actually going up to either this previous high here, which would make this the fourth wave, or it'll go up to this 38% level, 38% retrace of this third wave. So either one of these, I would prefer to see it to go to the 38% because it usually does, but if it went to this point, it would really mean the same thing, no difference, and it's going to turn and head down, dollar heading up. My last chart for today is the US dollar Canadian dollar, and I have been following that. I'm actually short this particular currency pair at the moment, and this one has done an ABC. This is I don't have the bigger chart here, but I will post that on within the post so you can see it. But we're in this ending diagonal right now, and this is the 38% retrace line. The Canadian dollar has done a great big wave to the upside on this chart, and it is retracing to the 38% level. So I'm expecting it to do, in an ending diagonal, we get a throw over. It's going to do a throw over. I don't know whether it will go past this 38%. It could, but I think it's going to go to at least this point. And so that's still a good trade. It's a little bit late in it. I've been in here since the fourth wave on this particular one. And then it's going to turn around and head right up like the US dollar is heading up. This is a reverse chart. So the euro is going to head down. The US dollar CAD chart, it'll head up, but in actual fact, the Canadian dollar is going down. And so they're all moving in tandem. Everything seems to be coming up to an inflection point, which we're going to see in the next 10 days or so. And so that's what we're all waiting for. So in the meantime, stay patient. This thing's going to turn over soon, and good trading.